Just when you thought it was all over, they always come back for more. Nothing truly stays dead forever. The witching hour is upon us, and time is running out. It's a race against the clock and against the undead. This is the Venom month of horrors for Corona Fever.
Hello?
Have you checked the children?
Well, they're not here anymore.
What about your family?
They're not here either.
Your friends?
Oh yeah. You right, Chandler?
Screw you.
Yeah, he's fine.
You don't have anybody else?
No, it's just me.
Don't you get lonely?
Sometimes.
Well, you know what? Screw you!
Let's go back to a classic. 3 years ago, we took a look at the 1979 cult classic When a Stranger Calls. The iconic story of a babysitter, played by Carol Kane, being stalked by a deranged killer. Then the movie gets Tourette's and shows some middle-aged woman being harassed by the creepy pervert for some reason before the movie realised its own story and returned to Carol Kane at the end for the killer to meet his demise by Officer Charles Durning. I really wasn't a fan of the film. The first 20 minutes of Carol Kane receiving the phone calls was really well done despite some poor acting, but it was creepy and a very effective scene. Predating Scream, so it was just revolutionary for a movie to start off with a sequence like that. But the rest, it was just a muddled mess, but you can't deny the impact that When a Stranger Calls had in the world of horror. And of course, in 2006, we got a remake that everyone and their dog hated, but not a lot of people know that the original film actually did get a sequel. While the first movie was a big hit and went to theatres, this 1993 sequel was a simple television movie. But despite being practically unheard of, often slipping under the radar, it was well received by critics, calling it just as good as its predecessor, though it suffers the same problems. Well, let's just see if this low-budget, unheard of sequel to an overrated sack of shit is any good. When a Stranger Calls Back. Well, he's creepy as shit.
Hi. The bell's broken.
Seriously, are we sure he's not the killer? He's just weird. And right away, we get some dramatic ass locking of the door. Oh, you just know things are gonna go down now. They're basically doing what the original did, with the babysitter being stalked, but my first question is, how is any of this possible? This girl is called Julia, played by Jill Sholin, and it's acknowledged that she accepted this babysitting job at the very last minute. And, as always, we later find out that the killer has planned out this entire evening of a game of cat and mouse, but how could he do that if she didn't accept the job at the last minute?
I don't know.
But hey, at least Julia checks out the kids right away. Last time Jill was just like, man, I'm out of here. The killer probably butchered the kids instantly and she didn't even know. Useless turd. Aha! See? He used a phone, so this is a When a Stranger Calls movie. Actually, for most of the movie, it's not even on the phone. Title doesn't really work. In fact, it's a different babysitter and a different killer, so it's not really someone calling her back. And how do these stalkers know every babysitter in town and what house they're going to be at? I would have just ignored the door and be quiet, but that's just me. Be antisocial, it pays off, especially in quarantine. But to be fair, the dude does sound genuinely nice and normal. It is really effective.
You don't know me. My car's broken down, and I was wondering if I could come in and use the phone.
Who do you want to call?
So his car is broken down just down the road and he asks Julia to call for help. He does actually sound so genuine. You almost think it's a double bluff and he's not a killer because of how well it plays out. And then the phone lines are cut, which is really creepy, and they even add some eerie atmospheric music.
Yes, they said they'd be here in about an hour.
An hour? They always say they'll come within 30 minutes. What's going on?
That's what they told me.
Yeah, she is a really bad liar. Should have just ignored the door. Weirdly, he waits an hour for the auto club to come and help him with his car, but naturally they don't turn up because she didn't really call them, and he returns to the house. But since we know that he's the killer, why does he even risk waiting an hour before coming back? This plan would only work if the parents were 100% punctual and are back at the exact time they promise, which is unlikely. But the tension is really high, and I actually think the suspense is built up way better than in the original. Shots like this work really well. They are framed up perfectly. You expect to see someone appear behind her. You wait anxiously, but it never comes. It's genius. But Julia decides to pretend to call the auto club again despite the lines being down just to get rid of him. Smart girl.
Why don't you call my brother? Tell him to come over.
Ah, the 90s, where people didn't have mobile phones to call their siblings. It was a simpler time. Wait, so he snuck in just to put on the hob? Just to mess with it? What? She doesn't actually realise, which is really clever. The audience will notice because we saw her turn it off earlier, which heightens the tension, but the character doesn't realise. But yeah, us petty nitpickers will. Yeah, we're the real G's. She's just so innocent and helpless. You're begging for the parents to return.
What do you want?
You never called them, did you? You never called the auto club.
Yes, I did. Of course I did.
Oh boy. Things just got serious.
I've done what I could for you. Why don't you just go away and leave me alone?
Matt, this is the opening! And it's so strong and powerful. Way more effective than the opening in the original. And then she realises that a page she wrote notes on earlier has completely vanished. Okay, that is terrifying. She does manage to keep calm and continues to pretend to make another call to the man's wife, but she subtly believes that he's outside the window. It's so creepy, and Jill Sholin does an incredible job. You can tell she's fearing for her own safety and completely paralysed with fear. This is such an underrated performance. Jesus! Okay, that is a really effective jump scare. That's how good this movie is. That's how good the opening is. Just a door opening is a really strong jump scare. That's how heightened the tension is. And then the back door is open and a note from the fridge is missing. Man, I'm not leaving my kids alone until quarantine is over. But then the dude turns creepy.
Have you been upstairs in the last 5 minutes?
Why?
I don't think you're alone in this house. Someone's upstairs. I've seen them moving around through the windows.
But this shot of his shadow behind her in the reflection is great. And then she discovers the children are missing. Jesus Christ! Oh, you know what? Screw the first film. This is incredible. And at least here, Julia tries to save the kids. Man, f*** Jill. Oh my God!
I'm hiding in the bushes.
What?
He's in there with you. Look into the living room.
Oh my God, it's Michael Myers! By the way, how come the dad is at the front door but the mum is only just getting out of the car? Not very gentlemanlike, douchebag.
I'm sorry to bother you.
So we cut to 5 years later. Oh, great. But no, at least in this one, we actually follow the same person. Julia is now in college and is traumatized from the events, even having to bolt her door shut. Where have I seen this before? The killer from 5 years ago was never caught, and the children have never been seen since. But the movie doesn't even give you a chance to breathe. It just continues going, and I love it. Julia finds some child's clothing in her wardrobe and freaks out.
She keeps talking about something that happened 5 years ago.
Is there a record on it?
Take a few days to get up here, if it exists. You want me to put in a request?
No.
Accurate. But hey, they call back in Jill, again played by Carol Kane, who just so happens to be the counselor on the college campus. What are the chances? Which is really weird because right before she appears, they clearly specify to get anyone but her.
Have him send someone over from the Dean of Women's office.
Okay.
Anyone but Johnson.
Yeah.
But Julia does a great job listing all of her issues, and it's so accurate. She explains her anxiety noticing tiny inconsistencies within her apartment, but everybody just dismisses them all because she's overreacting, like many with mental health issues. And she struggles to speak, which is delivered really well too. The acting is great. But why exactly is the killer still after her? I mean, she didn't get him captured or arrested. She didn't save the kids. There's not much reason for him to seek revenge!
Someone has been in my apartment, and they have done things, little things, to let me know that he's there.
Didn't you just say that you keep the front door triple locked and your apartment is 3 stories up from the ground?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hell of an effort for someone to move a boat.
What did he just say?
Hell of an effort for someone to move a boat.
He seems so mysterious and straight-faced when he says it, like he just gave us this profound knowledge and wisdom, but I have no idea what the hell he just said. But this speech about anxiety is absolutely incredible. It's so accurate how anxiety may be deluded, but sometimes it's based on truth.
I would be willing to bet that her apartment is pretty bare, not cluttered. You would know if a book had been moved. You know exactly how many socks you have in a drawer. How many matches are in the box by the stove. You don't mistake those things, and the terrifying thing is apparently he knows you don't.
This is what the first movie should have been! I am so into this! This film's character development is on point.
Oh, I want to call your parents and let them know what's going on.
They're divorced.
So that means they no longer care about you?
Julia, when I was a girl, I went through something very similar to your experience.
Except my movie sucked.
I want you to know you can stay here with me until you feel that you're ready to go back to your own apartment. We will get you through this.
And Jill is actually really likeable and sympathetic in this. And they even get Charles Durning back as the cop. He didn't really have much character in the original, but it is cool just to see him return. So they check out Julia's apartment, but she insists on continuing to stay there instead of Jill's place. I am fully behind her character and story. I want her to make it through this. But never mind why the killer is still after her. Why even wait 5 years? This killer's weird, man. But damn, they turned Carol Kane into a badass as she teaches self-defense classes.
You cannot say that you don't believe in violence unless you also say you don't believe in living.
I'm kind of turned on. Carol Kane, come on over. But it turns even more sinister as it turns out that the child's clothing left in her wardrobe was actually from one of the missing children.
I kind of wish it is 2 men this time.
Twice as easy to find.
Not just that. If it is only one, then he's got something going for him we haven't even begun to imagine.
And this dialogue is insane! They really hype up this killer as this terrifying being not to be reckoned with. They make him sound so scary. This is way better than the original. I mean, the original was dog poop, but still!
Julia, what's the matter? Where are you?
I saw somebody in the window. I heard this noise and it woke me up and I looked.
Put the light on then, you idiot! Horror movie characters are stupid. So Jill stays on the phone and directs Julia to check every single room one by one. As she does this, Julia heads off to do so, narrating her actions, and the camera starts to slowly pan down. You expect to see something, but you don't. Jill just listens in, and at one point Julia stops talking, and the tension is incredible, but it's all just a fake out.
All right. Now I want you to turn off the light.
Would have just been a really weird twist if it turned out that Jill was actually the killer all along. Jesus Christ, either this dude is a ninja or Julia is the heaviest sleeper in the world. Especially with someone with crippling anxiety.
Julia, do you own a gun?
Of course she does, she's American. But no, Jill has to teach her to shoot. Why is she teaching an American to shoot? That's like teaching a bear to hunt. But sadly, even the cop starts to doubt that this is a genuine case, believing that Julia is now just completely deluded. Jill is such a strong character. She's the only one who stands by her and believes that all of her concerns are genuine. But considering how concerned and paranoid Jill is as well, you'd think she'd call out when someone knocks on her door. But instead, no, she just opens it like this. Bit weird. But Jill and the cop leave Julia alone to go and investigate the house that the whole ordeal took place in. Weirdly, they even claim that the cop has a bad reputation in the neighbourhood. Why? He stopped the first killer. Why is he such a bad boy?
It was open 6 inches.
Is that 6 inches? Hold on, let me check.
He manipulated his voice so that she believed he was outside. And he never was, not at the end.
How could he have manipulated his voice that much? It was clearly coming from behind wood.
This is going to sound crazy, but we're looking for a ventriloquist.
Walter, how's the love life? You think sexy? I'm married, you moron.
What? Earlier he was saying, no, Julia's deluded. Let's use logic and common sense. And now he's saying, look, just hear me out. The killer is a ventriloquist. What? What? And again, how can a ventriloquist make their voice sound like they're behind wood?
It's Julia. She shot herself.
Oh my God! Okay, I must admit, I didn't see that coming.
What was the weapon?
We already got the forensic report on the slug. They dug it out of the ceiling. It was from a 9mm registered in her name. We found it right beside her.
Yeah, it's amazing she's still alive.
Oh, okay. Bit of a cop-out.
Can she talk?
No.
Will she be able to? I mean, someday?
Do you believe in God?
Wait, shouldn't doctors hate when people say that? They slave for hours over a surgery trying to save someone's life, and then the relatives are like, oh, hail Jesus. No, excuse me. I've just been in there saving their life. F*** your invisible Jew man. And then Jill starts to blame herself. Oh, good, she bought her the gun.
Read it again. It's dark. No phone. What do you think that means? No phone.
Ah, diaries. The easiest way possible to get out exposition without the character speaking. Wait, why would she even be writing that in the dark anyway? A man is mugging me. He's taking my wallet. I'm really scared, help.
I don't think it proves anything.
What? Make up your mind! She's all deluded, it's all in her head. No, it's a killer ventriloquist. This guy goes back and forth more than Michael Myers.
She tried to kill herself.
What if you're wrong?
I just don't understand why they think that her trying to commit suicide is such an impossibility. What? She's traumatized? Depressed? Anxious? She wouldn't try to kill herself now. But this is an awesome shot of the darkness surrounding Julia in her hospital bed. Perfect metaphor for her life. All we hear is footsteps and a clock ticking, and the shot lingers. We hear some movement from the darkness, and eventually Jill enters to break the silence.
Those stupid doctors, they don't believe it, but they don't know you.
Why is it so unlikely that she attempted suicide? Her life's a mess! She's miserable and you both abandoned her! Once she finally leaves, the killer steps out of the shadows and begins touching her, and it is so creepy. I don't quite understand why he doesn't just kill her here and now, but that kind of makes him even more evil. Okay, I don't know if that was supposed to be funny, but it is. Oi, wake up! But Jill just simply goes shopping and they manage to make it terrifying and intense. The dude throws his voice to mess with her. I am just amazed. This is such a ridiculous and silly premise. It's a ventriloquist killing people. And yet, I am so into it. It's unreal. But why would he even risk doing this in broad daylight in the middle of a supermarket? How does nobody else hear him or see him? And why do we get this weird insert shot of the vodka? What, is it the vodka talking to us? But then, seriously? We actually spend time with the killer to watch him do his ventriloquist act on stage. No, you're ruining the illusion! You're just gonna make him look ridiculous and goofy, not creepy and threatening. You're ruining your own movie. See, even the audience laugh at him. He's a weirdo. Dumbass didn't even realise he can't do ventriloquist if the doll has no mouth. Idiot. And I know they're trying to show that he's a nut job, but it's just weird and stupid. This is ridiculous. So his act flops and he gets fired and forced to clean the toilets. Are we supposed to feel sorry for him? He's the killer! What is this? But then a woman likes his act, he falls in love, but then his boss kicks him out. What was the point of any of that? None of that showed us any of his motivations. All of those extra scenes with him are just entirely pointless. There's no backstory there or anything. It's just random. Just because the original did pointless scenes with the killer doesn't mean you have to as well.
I can't make that choice for you, I'm sorry.
But despite doubting this story from the very beginning, the cop somehow knows he's the killer. What, he's the only ventriloquist in town? So he heads to the dude's house to find out more information.
Can you tell me if Mr. Landis lives down there? William Landis? He's a ventriloquist.
He's gone.
Okay, apparently everyone around him is a nutcase too.
Poor guy. Come out here. Children had died. Wanted to find their mother. Tell her about it.
Alright, that is the only thing in this entire section that actually correlates with the rest of the story. The thing is, in this one, at least it makes sense for them to drop the Julia story to focus on Jill and the cop instead. In the original, it focused on the babysitter and then a random woman and the killer and then the babysitter again. In this one, it's the babysitter who forms a friendship with Jill, and then the babysitter is taken out of the equation, so Jill becomes the new target and primary focus. It continues the story with the old characters, whilst also introducing new ones at the same time. It's really well written. Well, except for this crap. But then the cop finds photos of Julia in hospital in her apartment. That is creepy as hell. Then Jill finds a carton with the missing kids' faces on it in her apartment. That is terrifying. And a lot of the time they don't focus on too many cliches. But she's now locked in with the killer and his voice is terrifying, man. It's so eerie and even Jill seems shocked.
Jill.
This one's actually scary. I would, but I've just my drawers, you ass. It's perfectly paced as she roams the apartment to try to find him in the darkness. What is this, Silence of the Lambs? But we only have 5 minutes of runtime left. What the hell's gonna happen and when? But he is literally painted and camouflaged with the walls. So this is ridiculous. But why is he even bothering with Julia or Jill? He's a struggling ventriloquist who can't get a job. Maybe that should be your main priority, mate. But then he scraps being stealthy and just attacks her. What? That doesn't even make any sense. That's not his style. Then he tries poking her eyes out. Oh no, it's Jacob. Good night. He's gonna get you.
Where's the gun?
Okay, I can't take this seriously. This is asinine.
Is he dead?
He's dead.
Okay, so now does he get some recognition? I mean, he stopped the first killer and still nobody likes him, apparently. I don't understand. Oh, and that's actually where the movie ends. Just right there. Just like the original. Kind of abrupt, but alright. And that was When a Stranger Calls, eh? Pleasant surprise and way better than the first one. You actually grow to like the characters, you're even more involved. The killer gets silly to the end, but the build-up is fantastic. It's very much a Stephen King style film. Well built up with whack payoff. But god damn, it's scary as hell. It does everything the first one should have done and deserves a lot more credit. But thank God that's the only time this month I have to revisit an old enemy. Hello?
Have you checked the children?
I already told you, they're not here.
They remade it.
Remade what?
What is tomorrow's date?
October 25th?
You reviewed it on that date. Well, they made another one.
No, they didn't.